AI happens pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, it might just pass you by.
Hello, and welcome to The Reasoning Show. I'm your host, Brian Gracely. And today, I have reason to believe, due to the popularity of the OpenClaw project, that we might be looking at either the future of personal AI agents, the future of how open source software is going to be developed, or somewhere in between. And we're going to dig into that right after the break. Today's show is brought to you by VENTION. AI promises speed, but for many teams, it means more meetings, more tools, more confusion, and still not much to show at launch. VENTION works differently. AI is embedded in their processes from the first architecture decision through deployment. Their engineers use AI to cut repetitive work and focus on what matters most, building the right product faster. This is their peace of mind promise. You get clear ownership, full visibility into progress, and delivery that you can rely on. Ready for an expert developer who actually delivers? Visit ventionteams.com. And we're back with one of the great names in technology, Sally O'Malley, principal software engineer at Red Hat, and also recently named maintainer of the OpenClaw project. Sally, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Thank you. Yes, I'm still figuring out what exactly that means. It seems like it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. So before we dive, we're going to talk, about OpenClaw. But before I dive into that, give us a little bit about your background, what you do today, but also just your sort of journey around software development, because I think we're gonna talk about software development as much as anything on this episode.
Yeah, sure. I've been at Red Hat for over 10 years, and I started out working on OpenShift and Kubernetes. And I've moved more than a few years ago to the emerging tech division within Red Hat. And so that's what I do. I find new exciting projects and I decide if they fit into our portfolio or where they might fit in or fill gaps. So that's what I do. And the past 3 years has been all AI.
Yeah, excellent. So you made it interesting. So this won't necessarily have to do with Red Hat, but you made an interesting internal post on one of our Slack channels, and you said, I was on vacation for about a week, and I dove into this OpenClaw thing. Give us, before we dive into the first week with OpenClaw, give us a little bit. You and I talked last week about your premonition from a year ago, and then kind of how all of your kind of connectedness to OpenClaw sort of happened.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm going to talk about my premonition then. I woke up in the middle of the night about a year ago, and I had this just phrase in my head, and it was a social media network for AI agents. And at the time, I had just started learning about AI agents, and so I thought about that, social media network for AI agents. I'm like, that was weird, but it makes total sense, because that's exactly what we're going to need when these AI agents are doing our business all over. So we need everything that the social media platform has, like identity management and fine-grained access control and all of these things that are already in place. So I went and told my team, and they were like, yeah, okay. And I tried to explain it. So I just filed it away. And when Moltbook came out, that was my moment to pay attention. I knew I had to dig in right there, and I knew this was going to be important. And Moltbook is crazy, and that is not what we're talking about today.
Right.
But that's what brought me to OpenClaw.
Yeah. And you basically, you had some official time off, or you were, kind of gotten away from things, and you just decided to dive headfirst into it. Talk about your week with OpenClaw. Like, where did it start? What were your expectations?
All right, so the first thing I do when I find anything that's interesting is I containerize it. That's just, I don't run anything native. And so I knew that everybody was running this natively on their systems, and I wanted to first see if it could be containerized. There was a Docker file, so yes, it can be.
Yep.
So I did that, and then it runs great. And the second thing I did was try to run it in OpenShift, a Kubernetes environment. Kubernetes, no problem. OpenShift has some extra security features, some extra things you have to do to get it to work. So I did that. I put it behind an OpenShift OAuth proxy so that you have to be authenticated into the cluster in order to even access it. I did all of these little things. And I just knew that this was such a popular project. And I also know from working on OpenShift for the past 10 years that we know better than anyone how to run applications at scale securely in a trusted way.
Yep.
And so that's my mission. And it's become this mission for me to bring AI to the masses safely. We're finally at the point after 3 years of just everything flying around, trying this, trying that, does it stick? We're finally at the point where we are thinking about running AI applications for real, in production, at scale. And that is why I'm so excited for this moment, because that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years, whether it's AI or not. Deploying applications is deploying applications. So
yeah. So I should step back. I should have done this for anybody who's not familiar with OpenClaw. It is what has become a wildly popular sort of personal AI assistant. It is open source, but tell us a little bit about what you knew about the project going in, and then kind of just, for anybody who's brand new to it, how would you sort of explain OpenClaw to anybody who's like, well, what is this thing? I've heard about it. Kind of give us some overview.
Yeah, exactly that. It's a way to set up a personal assistant or even an environment of personal assistance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to set up. I think it is.
Yeah.
The biggest gripe for people out there, they say it's not, but I don't know. And you can connect it to Telegram or WhatsApp or Slack. And so you have this AI assistant that is really engaged and you can connect with it from outside of your system. It's this, you can't even put it into words. It's just this magical kind of feeling, this aha moment when you use OpenClaw, and that is why it's exploded. It's got that that thing, that X factor, that spark that make these projects explode.
Yeah. So you download the software, you install it somewhere. You talked about putting it in a container. I think you can run it locally on your laptop, although I've heard you kind of have to give it a whole bunch of access. But then at that point, how are you communicating with this agent? How do you tell it, these are things I'd like you to go off and do, or this is how you learn about my day-to-day tasks? Like, what's sort of the user experience of, kind of letting it know what you would like it to do or what you'd like it to learn about yourself?
Yeah, I skipped the part that makes it really fun to use, and that's customizing the agent.
Mm-hmm.
There are files, descriptions, things like just they're markdown files. So agent file, there's a soul, and that starts to get really fun where you can give a personality, but you can also work with the AI based on the tasks that you give it. It could write its own soul file, identity file. There are other ones. And then you can schedule jobs for it to do tasks. They're cron jobs. And so, let's see what else. There's a chat aspect to it, but the chat is,
And it's intended to sort of like you set up these files, you kind of give it a personality, as you said, you give it some tasks. Is it intended to just go off and work for a while? Is it intended to sort of always have you as the human in the loop? Is it, is there an intended sort of way it's supposed to work, or are people still trying to figure all those things out?
A bit. People are figuring it out. I think that the possibilities are kind of endless. You can be really creative with it, with what you connect it to. So let me back up and mention that this application is very powerful. And it can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
So when the reason I jumped into that Slack conversation was because somebody was poo-pooing it, and they were saying, "Oh, it's a security nightmare. We'll never, And so I had to jump in, and I think my goal was to remind people that we have the platform that can make any application secure, and as secure as it can be. And so that was I said this might be a golden opportunity for our platform. So let's just take it and make it as locked down, as secure as possible.
Yeah.
But it is powerful. It connects to when you connect anything to the models, the Gemini, Anthropic, OpenAI, it's extremely powerful. And so you have to configure it and you have to be really tedious and meticulous about how you give it access to anything. And so you can't just download it and run it and expect that it's going to be okay. So that's where it's going to take expertise from right. the industry to really show how to run these all AI applications right. in a safe way.
Yeah, and it feels like from the bit that I've read so far, the security concerns fall into everything from how much access to a given machine do you have to give it? Are you giving it root access or some other sets of permission? What identity do you ask it for it to assume? Is it, do you create a pseudo identity? Is it you yourself? And then when you start giving it tasks, as a human, you sort of go, oh, okay, well, I'll logically, if somebody asks me to take money out of the bank, or if they ask me to post something, like, as a human being, you're naturally like, okay, my humanness will get involved with it. I think that's also another one of the things where people are trying to figure out, if I start giving something access to what you would have done before or tasks that you would have done, yeah, you've got to figure out, well, how far will it go? Is it trying to negotiate a price on something? Is it giving away, your social security information? So yeah, I can see where concerns about security would obviously come into place, but it's the same sort of trade-off that we talk about all the time. If you give somebody some form of your permission, so maybe it's something you give to a lawyer to be able to sign something on your behalf, or you give to a spouse to make a medical decision on your behalf. Like we have a little bit of those concepts in real life, but like you said, I think we're trying to figure out what they look like in an AI world.
Yeah, and it's a give and take where you want to secure it and lock it down, but you also want it to be useful, and right. So you have to be explicit about what you want it to do and what you give it access to. Yeah. And I think, just even the simplest example you probably could make to somebody is say, well, a decade ago, people fell in love with Docker, and Docker by default assumed root access to the machine that you put it on. And that may not have been something you expected, but you also were like excited about the possibilities of it. So we've been through this before, where new technology came out. It was really powerful, but it was also, it had sharp edges if you didn't know what you were getting into. That's a really great analogy that I've thought about a lot too, because in the early days of Docker, that's when I started Red Hat. Yeah, everybody was downloading random crap off the internet, and you remember Dan Walsh from Red Hat saying, "Don't download random crap off the internet." And so now we have this ecosystem around OpenClaw with thousands of skills, and the skills are separate, and there's no way to it's so new that you have to be very careful about which skills you just go and download, and I don't download any. Yeah. I make my own if I need them. Another thing is that I haven't actually set up my OpenClaws to be useful yet, because I'm all about building, configuring, and deploying. And so I do that 100 times a day in different ways, adding different configurations, testing different things. Like, that's what I'm all about. I have not gotten to the place where I'm actually using it for real.
Yeah, so you're still working on fundamentals still.
Yeah, absolutely, because we have to get it into a sane place for anything real, or anything I would do.
Right. And we'll put a bunch of links in the show notes for folks listening to the OpenClaw, the open source project, to the new community things, to the marketplace, so that you can kind of go find them. You and I were talking last week as we were doing some prep for this, and you're now a maintainer for the OpenClaw project. And you were kind of giving me a little bit of background on just how this project is building software and taking pull requests and other things. Can you walk us through a little bit? You were just sort of saying, like, it is so much different how they're creating software, whether it's the velocity or other things. Can you kind of walk us through that process? Because obviously people are familiar with open source projects, but this feels like this one's going to be a little different. They need some, might be useful to have some background on how it's working.
Absolutely. It's a totally new paradigm, but I've been doing this for a few months before too. There was another project that we were working on called Ambient. And the same thing is 100% AI driven. And you're just, okay, so yes, this community, this software development process, this, the process of maintaining, of merging PRs is different. And it is the new way, and we're not going back. So currently there are 5,000 PRs open. There are clusters of PRs that are trying to do the same thing. if there's a typo in a file, you get 20 PRs within 10 minutes fixing that typo. Mm-hmm. And so how do you, as a maintainer, handle that?
Yeah, overwhelming.
Yeah, there are skills that we use, and like AI skills, and they're open source, so they're in the repo. And you find clusters of PRs, and you review them with AI. You review them yourself. You sometimes massage the PR rather than go back and forth with the contributor the way that traditionally we always have done. Mm-hmm. The maintainer goes to the contributor and suggests things, and they get back a few days later, like, that's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with these 5,000 PRs just coming in, constantly. So yeah, we could take a cluster, put it down to one, maybe thank 4 people for a 2-line, maybe thank 4 contributors for like a 2-line fix of a typo, like trying to give everyone credit, trying to make sure that everyone can contribute. It's a new way.
Yeah.
I've just started. Okay, so sure. I've been maintaining for 3 days.
Yeah.
And I've been a maintainer for over a week, but I just jumped in over the weekend to actually do some things. So I'm taking some PRs that have to do with Docker or Podman. I'm going into my safe spot and sifting through all of those.
Right. Well, it's funny. We're recording this on a Monday. We'll publish it on a Wednesday. You and I were talking, I think, Friday of last week, and you said, "Oh, should we just record it like right now?" And I said, "No, it's fine. We'll record it on a Monday." And you kind of said, "Well, there might be a lot that changes between what we talked about on Friday and where things are on Monday." And I think it was kind of enlightening to like we would talk about something like that if we were talking about a new CEO coming into a company and like some new information. But you're talking about just the pace of change of a very popular project, and not like minor changes, like significant things could happen in a few days. Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah. I wanted to mention, I've been kind of thinking of this triangle now that is the contributor that creates a PR, and then the maintainer, but then at the top of the triangle is AI. And it's a three-way process. Yeah. And that is that's kind of how I think of it.
Right. Now, obviously, you've been around open source software for a while. For lots of people that'll download it, they may not necessarily care about how the process works. But do you feel like this idea of, like you said, there'll be a cluster of things, which really is probably 20 people all kind of had similar things they wanted fixed or ideas. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like people are going to start to just understand that they were part of a cluster that, all was trying to do the same thing? Do you feel like people are going to, take it personal that they didn't get a specific call out? I mean, obviously it's a trade. It's like every trade-off, right? Like you've got to scale. Have you seen either side of that from sort of, old-timey open source people being frustrated, or is the open source community starting to come around to just, this is the pace that things are happening? Or
yeah, I think we don't have a choice. And I think about that a lot too. There really isn't a choice. This is the new way. This is what works. This is what's going to create more stable, secure software. Right. And that's where the focus is right now with OpenClaw, as far as I can tell, is security and stability, and trying to just, get it to a sane pace. Peter, it probably works like 18 hours a day, and it's not sustainable, which is why he's bringing in maintainers to help.
Yeah, and Peter is Peter Steinberger, who's the originator of the project. He's since moved to taking a role at OpenAI, but he's also committed to keeping the project open source and being part of the community. So, we've talked a little bit about some of the security concerns. What are, if you were to explain to somebody, hey, and again, we don't necessarily know where things will end up, but if you were to look at even the project that you looked at, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago when you first got started, and where you're seeing people ask for it to be more secure, what are some of the important things that people should be kind of aware of? Or, if you're, obviously a lot of projects start as sort of a hobby or a consumer project, but eventually if it needs to get into an enterprise, a bank or an insurance company or something, like, what would be some of the security things that people should be aware of that either are getting worked on, or, you sort of look at and you go, okay, that's a red flag area for now, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. It's a million small things that are going to add up to making it robust. Just in the past few days, there's been I think it's called the agent control plane. Let me make sure I have it written in my notes. Nope, it's not. Woohoo! We're going to edit that out.
Okay.
The ACP, it's called the Agent Communication Protocol, how the agents within an OpenClaw communicate. They added an identity feature so that they can't be spoofed. So that's a big security feature over the last few days. Just little things like SE Linux labeling on volume mounts in Podman and Docker, improving the secret scanning. It seems like every hour there's some security fixes going in, and the fact that so many people are looking at this project, there's 54,000 forks.
Wow.
Let me just double check that. I have it open here.
That sounds about right.
We can. No, I gotta check.
It's fine. We're on Monday, March 9th. It has a lot. We can put it
I
back.
was right. 55,000.
Okay.
All right. So lots of people are looking at this, trying to hack it, trying to break it, and that can only make the project stronger.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I think I saw an article this past week or maybe the week before where Jensen Huang from NVIDIA was saying that he thinks OpenClaw might be, the most important project in AI, at least at this moment in time, right? As of, March 2026. So, when the person who is kind of leading the AI movement at a really high level and is, at both a business level and a technology level is saying this is really important, you're going to get a lot of eyeballs on it. And I know you've even heard from companies that are saying, hey, can we just start throwing this into production? Can we start building things? And it's a little bit of like, whoa, just be careful, know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. We don't have a choice but to make any AI application safer. There's no going back.
Right.
It's not like a company can come out and say, you cannot run AI applications on our systems.
Right. Well, and apparently I was talking to somebody else. They were saying that there is such a run on Mac Minis of developers saying, hey, I don't necessarily want to run it on my machine, but there's such a run on Mac Minis that you literally can't get them. Like they're sold out. There you go. You got one.
I waited a while, but I just got it Friday. I'm going to set it up today.
Yeah. So fascinating stuff. I don't want to overwhelm you because I know you're busy working on this stuff. It's all sort of new. I kind of wanted to introduce people to both the concept, but also some folks who have been working on it. What are your sort of excitements and expectations? I'll wrap up with that around getting to work on it. Do you have any pet projects that you think you'll start with? You said you've been doing fundamentals. Do you have a project or two you think you might start with?
I'm actually just blown away that I'm a part of this, and I'm so grateful, and so there's that, and I'm really interested in running this as agent to agent, so multiple OpenClaws communicating with one another over a network. Maybe that's a Kubernetes cluster. Maybe it's a semi-trusted private network cluster, and you've got different teammates, each with their personal assistant hubs, which is an individual OpenClaw. And so me, the human, I have my group of assistants, and my teammate, my agents can talk to my teammates, things like that. In order to make that work, you need you need identity management. I'm really playing with Keycloak as an identity provider, and Spiffy Spire that provides workload identity, cryptographic, zero trust identity, and the Google A2A protocol that gives a well-known agent endpoint, and you can allow your agents to communicate over this zero trust auth bridge. There's a project in Red Hat that it's called Cogenti that makes use of all of those things, and that's what I'm really excited about, and I want to work to make sure that the core of OpenClaw works well with something like that, because I think that's going back to my premonition of a social media network for AI agents. That's where I think the world's going.
Yeah, no, it's great to see it happening. I think if you're if you're curious, the good news is you can go grab this. Like you said, there's communities building around it. There's Reddit forums, there's marketplaces. And if you're an IT person, this is something to very much pay attention to, because you're going to have people that are kind of running these as shadow AI agents, just like we've seen shadow stuff in the past. And you want to start getting ahead of it. Figure out what people are doing with it. Figure out how it's going to impact identity, how it's going to impact things going inside your firewalls, outside your firewalls, and so forth. So good stuff. Sally, I'm gonna wrap up there. I know we've just barely scratched the surface on what's going on with it, but for as early as this is, I think it's good for people just to kind of have some awareness and start paying attention to it, whether you're interested in the velocity of software or you're interested for agents. And we will definitely be doing more and more stuff around this as we go along. So Sally, thank you for the time today. Thank you for everybody who listens, and if you have questions, reach out. We'll try and make connections. The best way will be within the community and in the various forums for that. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Check us out online at reasoning.show for all things reasoning, and leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to the show.